Okay, Charlie. Okay, Charlotte. Okay, all right. You know what? We're gonna put this right up here. We're going pop two. Oh, and we're gonna get to work. Charli XCX Crash album review. Let's chat about it. Hey guys, John here from What's Spinning. Hope everybody's doing well. We're here tonight to chat about this latest from Miss Charli XCX. She is a UK-based pop star, a modern-day obsession of myself, as well as many others. In her early days, she caught me off guard with her True Romance album. It's not a perfect album, but it's one that I think goes a little underappreciated. It's not as game-changing as some of her more recent releases, but between the sort of dark synth pop that we get here, as well as the bubbly anthems, she was doing some pretty cool stuff at the time. Now, I started to worry about her around the time of Sucker. I had my reservations. She was doing those crappy tracks with Iggy Azalea, and I got worried because I thought Charli had something special. And you know what? It's not her forte, the Sucker album, but there's still a lot of great stuff on there. It's fun. But up until that point, I was a very casual Charli XCX fan. And then she released the Vroom Vroom EP. All of a sudden, she was turning modern pop on its head with the PC Music clan. She pushed this sound further with her Number One Angel and her Pop 2 mixtapes. These are such great tapes. They instantly skyrocketed Charli to the top of this future pop movement that we're in right now. Now, I still have a couple of mixed feelings on her Charli album. I mean, yeah, some of the singles are incredible. I mean, Gone was my number 2 single of the year. But with her last album, the How I'm Feeling Now album, I thought she gave us one of the best examples of the whole I wrote an album, I recorded an album, I released an album in the middle of COVID. And honestly, it was a stellar album. Some of the best singles of the year, like Forever and Pink Diamond, as well as my personal favorite, Claws. Charli has been on quite the roll lately, and leading up to this new album, I thought a lot of the singles need to grow on me a little bit more, which they did, and my goodness, what an album this is. This album starts off with its title track, Crash. Yeah, it's awesome. I love this crisp beat here that seems ripped right out of the 80s, but like, I don't know, put through a more modern production. It's quirky. It's sunny. It's so Charli. This is a great start. It's also super colorful, which most of her stuff lately has been, but it seems even more so these days. It is a great respect to classic pop while looking fearlessly towards the future. Then we have New Shapes featuring Christina the Queens and Caroline Polachek. And this may come as a surprise, but this single took a while for me to really grow into. I didn't like it that much at first, but between these big 80s synths, the great production, and stellar performances all around, yeah, it's grown on me quite a bit. I mean, Christina the Queens and Caroline Polachek have so much chemistry with Charli already. I was not too shocked to hear them have it again this time around. It's just a great single. And by now, you should know my thoughts on the Good One single. It was in my top 10 singles of the year last year. It hyped me up for this album, and it's only grown on me ever since. It's so catchy. It's just so obvious. And it's also just, you know, a real anthem. Like, this is going to be remembered for Charli fans. It's also oddly timeless. A lot of her music is. I love Constant Repeat. It's very bubbly, but it's also on the more experimental side as far as this album goes. And you know what? Spoiler alert, this album is not one of her more experimental at the end of the day, but I don't think it really needed to be. She mostly makes up for that with just how confident she sounds on some of these recordings. And yes, it's one of the more heartfelt and sort of tragic tracks on here. We get a lot more of those down the road, but for now, I'm just having a blast with this. Beg for You with Rina Sawayama. Once again, this is just another really great classic approach to the pop tune. It's heartfelt. It's a great ballad. You get this sort of Charli twists and turns that she puts into her music quite a bit. It's larger than life, and that reinterpretation that we get for this chorus here, it's huge. And Rina's vocals on this track, I mean, I knew that I was going to like this track going into it because I love Rina Sawayama, but her vocals have only gotten better since her debut album a year or so ago. This is an electric collaboration. I've got no complaints, or very, very few complaints. Charli is on another level right now. I mean, if I had to nitpick, I think Yuck is my least favorite track here. I mean, if you're going to follow up a track like Every Rule, which is such a deep and emotional track, this track almost seems like kind of a slap in the face. And yes, the beat is very fun and the production's very quirky, and I like that. But I think she could do a lot better. She proves that with just about every other track here. Move Me is one of the busier and harder to pinpoint tracks here. It's an odd one. I mean, compared to the rest of the tracks here, this is one of the more experimental tunes, especially the beat. But between Charli's very sincere lyrics and her vocals, which are pretty stunning on this track, it works. And ironically, Baby was one of my least favorite singles leading up to this album. It's grown to be one of my favorites, though. I think originally what I liked was I thought it was a little bit too straightforward, a little bit on the too simple side, but I think that what makes it so obvious. The beat is bumping, her performance is just the right balance of catchy and sort of sexy. It is such a good pop tune. We also get some late album real twists. Lightning is one of them that shows Charli really branching out, and I love that about her. This is one of the most weird and far out and indescribable tracks on this album. Once again, we get this beat here that sounds like it was made in the 80s but thrust into the future through the PC Music cam. It's bulky, but it's paired with these lyrics that are on the more emotional and somber side. Once again, it's a winning combination. And if that's sort of somber, then we have Every Rule, which is a damn near ballad and really good one too. This track is beautiful and emotional and seems really sincere at the same time. I mean, this is a pop tune, a really good pop tune that sort of approaches this idea of being another woman, but, you know, falling in love with the man in that relationship. And it does it in a really interesting way. It's a different side of Charli, but that's something I always kind of want to see. Used to Know Me, I think it's my favorite deep cut here. This track is awesome. This beat was ripped right out of the Night at the Roxbury soundtrack, and that is most certainly not a diss. This track is fantastic. It is once again a sort of throwback to another time in pop music, but brought up to speed with Charli's usual twists and turns. Like, Charli is on a victory lap here, and that's not a bad thing. She is so ahead of the game right now. This is just coming so easy to her. And Twice is a sort of quirky finale that I really needed. It's also, once again, a really personal tune, maybe one of the most personal here, and that's great. And you know what? As an album, as a whole album, this isn't as experimental or as mind-melting or thrusting the genre into the future as some of her last few projects. I get that. But like I said, she is so ahead of the game right now. This is coming so easy to her. This is some of her catchiest singles in a really long time. I think it's her most consistent album in a really long time. And I don't know what it is, but I am vibing on so much of this album. This album makes me happy. This makes me groove. This makes me cry at points. It is gorgeous. It is catchy. It is a phenomenal pop album, and I'm feeling a light 9 on it. Let me know what you guys think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, guys.